So now, guess who's jealous of Adele? Beyonce. Beyonce needs auto-tune. Adele, Aretha, Celine, Dionne Warwick, and Mariah. They need nothing.
Power God. This is why Adele has to get on the podium and thank Beyonce. When actually she did it because of my manager, my label, my A&R, and all of the I created for her to exist.
It always starts the same way. A stage, a spotlight, and a winner holding a trophy with shaky hands. The crowd is cheering, the cameras are flashing, and for a brief moment, everything feels predictable. But then, something unusual happens. Instead of celebrating their own achievement, instead of thanking their team or their family, the artist pauses and says one name: Beyonce. Not once, not occasionally, but over and over again, across different events, different artists, and completely unrelated wins. At first, people brushed it off as respect. After all, Beyonce is one of the most successful artists in the world. But as the clips kept piling up, the pattern became harder to ignore. Why would so many artists feel the need to thank someone who had nothing to do with their reward? Why did it feel less like admiration and more like obligation? The internet laughed it off at first, turning it into memes and jokes. But behind the humor, a question started forming. What if this wasn't random at all? What if there was something deeper going on behind the scenes that the public wasn't supposed to fully understand? And just when people thought it couldn't get any stranger, one moment at the Grammys changed everything.
But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time.
Beyonce, it was so monumental. We fucking adore you. You are our light.
Beyonce and I started out around the same time, and just like all of her fans, I fell in love with her. The first time I saw her, from her singing to dancing to acting, she can do it all. She's a triple threat and one of the most talented people I've ever seen.
And the fact that Beyonce made a country record changed the game. So thank you. Beyonce, you changed my life. So thank you so much. I definitely want to say thank you to Beyonce.
And thank you, Beyonce. You're amazing. Yeah.
I also have to say thank you to Beyonce, just so that we keep the dance community safe. Everybody, Beyonce, you got great music. We all love to dance to it. We all love you.
That night was supposed to belong to Adele. She had just won one of the biggest awards in music, beating out Beyonce in a category many believed Beyonce would take home. It was a career-defining moment, the kind artists dream about for years. But instead of pure joy, Adele looked overwhelmed. Her voice trembled, her emotions spilled over, and before anyone could process it, she shifted the entire focus away from herself. She started praising Beyonce in a way that felt unusually intense, almost as if she was apologizing for winning. She called her an icon, spoke about how much she deserved the award, and even suggested that the win didn't feel right. The audience didn't know how to react. Was this humility, admiration, or something else entirely? And then it went even further. After the cameras stopped rolling, Adele reportedly went backstage to find Beyonce and thank her again, repeating the same sentiments in private. That's when people really started to question things. It wasn't just a polite acknowledgement anymore. It felt excessive, almost urgent, like she needed to make sure her message was heard. And that's when the speculation began to grow. Was Adele simply being kind? Or was there a deeper reason behind her behavior that no one was openly talking about?
No, Beyonce is a witch. She's a very powerful witch. She's heavy into African spirituality. She is a daughter of, I believe, either a daughter of Oshun or Yemaya. I go back and forth. I feel like it's Oshun though, but if I got it wrong, I got it wrong. But nonetheless, she's a high-ranking witch. Madonna is a very high ranking, which she is a high priestess. That's just pretty much what it is. Of course, the main thing Madonna practices is Kabbalah, but then there's different versions of Kabbalah, just like there's different versions of African spirituality. But then I also believe that in addition to African spirituality, I do believe that Beyonce is into dark magic and black magic as well, her and Jay-Z.
As discussions spread across social media, a new layer of speculation started to emerge. Some content creators and insiders began suggesting that the music industry might operate under an unspoken system, a system where certain individuals are elevated to a symbolic status, almost like royalty, and others are expected to publicly acknowledge that position. According to these theories, it's not just about talent or success. It's about maintaining a hierarchy that benefits those at the very top. Beyoncé, in this context, is often described as one of those central figures, not just a performer, but a symbol of power within the industry. These ideas remain unproven, and many dismiss them as conspiracy theories, but they gained traction because they seem to explain patterns people couldn't ignore. The repeated public praise, the consistent positioning, and the way certain narratives always seem to align. It created a sense that there might be rules behind the scenes that the public never sees. Whether those rules are real or imagined, the impact is the same. People start connecting dots, questioning motives, and looking at past events through a completely different lens. And when they do, they begin to notice stories that suddenly feel a lot more significant than they once did. While most people were still trying to make sense of Adele's emotional speech, one person had no hesitation sharing her opinion. Wendy Williams went live on her show and immediately addressed what everyone had just witnessed. But instead of focusing on Adele's reaction, she flipped the narrative entirely. According to Wendy, the situation wasn't about admiration at all. She suggested that Beyoncé might actually feel threatened by Adele's success, pointing out how Adele's album was performing and how relatable her image was compared to Beyoncé's carefully curated persona. It was a bold claim, and it instantly stirred controversy. Fans were outraged, accusing Wendy of creating unnecessary drama and trying to pit two successful women against each other. But Wendy didn't back down. She doubled down on her statements, highlighting differences in their lifestyles, their public images, and how audiences connect with them. At the time, it sounded like typical celebrity gossip, something exaggerated for ratings. But as more conversations started surfacing online, some people began to revisit what Wendy had said, not because they fully agreed, but because her comments introduced a different angle, one that made people question whether the dynamics between major artists were as simple as they seemed. And once that door was opened, it led to even more unsettling theories. One of the most talked about examples in these discussions is Carrie Hilson. At one point, she was rising fast, gaining recognition and building a strong presence in the industry. Everything seemed to be going in the right direction until a remix surfaced that included lyrics widely interpreted as a diss toward Beyoncé. The reaction was immediate. Fans were upset, debates erupted, and suddenly Carrie found herself at the center of a storm she didn't seem prepared for. Over time, her visibility started to fade. The momentum she once had slowed down dramatically, and her career never fully recovered to the level many expected. What made the situation more complicated was her later explanation. Carrie claimed that the lyrics weren't written by her and that she felt pressured into recording them. This added a new dimension to the story. Was she being honest, or was this an attempt to repair her image? There was no clear answer, but her experience became part of a larger narrative that people were already building. A narrative where going against certain figures, intentionally or not, seemed to come with consequences. Whether those consequences were coincidental or connected to something bigger remains unclear, but the pattern was enough to keep the conversation going. Carrie's story wasn't the only one being discussed. Over time, other names started appearing in similar conversations, including artists like Blue Cantrell and Maya. Both had moments of strong success, and both became linked to rumors involving Jay-Z. These rumors spread quickly, fueled by speculation and media attention. In each case, the artists denied any involvement and tried to distance themselves from the narratives being created. However, the damage was already done. Public perception began to shift, and their careers faced challenges that were difficult to overcome. It raised an important question about the power of rumors in the entertainment industry. Even without concrete evidence, repeated claims can influence how artists are viewed and treated. In some cases, it can overshadow their work entirely. Whether these situations were purely the result of media speculation or something more complex is still debated. But what's clear is that once a narrative takes hold, it can be incredibly difficult to escape. And when multiple stories begin to follow a similar pattern, people naturally start to look for connections, even if those connections aren't fully proven. Beyond personal stories and industry rumors, another layer of the conversation focuses on artistic expression itself. Beyoncé's work, particularly during certain eras, has been analyzed extensively for symbolism and deeper meaning. Projects like Lemonade sparked widespread discussion, with viewers interpreting visuals, themes, and references in different ways. Some saw it as a powerful cultural statement, rich with historical and emotional depth. Others believed it contained hidden messages connected to spiritual or symbolic traditions. These interpretations vary widely, and there's no single agreed-upon explanation. But the fact that so many people are looking for meaning beyond the surface adds to the overall mystique. It turns artistic choices into conversation points, and those conversations often extend into broader theories about influence and intention. Whether these interpretations are accurate or simply reflections of audience curiosity is difficult to determine. However, they contribute to the larger narrative that surrounds not just Beyoncé, but the entire industry. A narrative filled with questions, assumptions, and ongoing debates that continue to evolve with every new piece of information. When all of these moments are placed side by side, they create a story that feels both fascinating and complicated. Public praise that seems excessive, emotional reactions that feel unexpected, bold claims from media personalities, and a growing number of theories attempting to connect everything together. On their own, each piece might not seem significant, but together, they form a pattern that's hard for some people to ignore. Still, it's important to recognize that much of this is based on interpretation, speculation, and perspective. There are no confirmed answers tying everything into one clear explanation. And maybe that's what keeps the conversation alive. The uncertainty, the unanswered questions. Because in an industry built on image, influence, and storytelling, not everything is as straightforward as it appears. And sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones that leave you wondering what's really happening behind the scenes.